Hello and welcome. I am Raghav, and in this session we are going to go very basic step by step, and we are going to understand everything about environment variables. And do not worry if you are a complete beginner and you have never understood about environment variables on your system. I will start from scratch and we will go up step by step, and this is going to be very interesting. So I am creating this session in response to a comment by Martin, who wanted to understand about Gradle home, Java home environment variables. He was watching my this tutorial on Gradle, and although I have explained him, I thought it will be good if I create a session on this so that everyone can understand about environment variables. So to begin with, I will have some theoretical concepts on environment variables. What are environment variables? How do they work? And then we will go to the commands, which will be very interesting, the practical session. And I will cover this both on Windows, Mac operating system, and the commands we use on Mac should also work on Linux operating system. So let's start. What are environment variables? So you can think of environment variable as a key value pair. So let's say if I go to my terminal on Mac, or let me first go to my Windows, and I'm pressing the Windows key or the command key, and I type cmd, and I will hit enter to open the command prompt. Now here, if I say set my var1 equals to hello and hit enter, here it has set the key myvar1 and the value hello to this variable, so variable and its value. And if I now say set myvar1, you can see it shows me the value, or I can also say on Windows echo percent and the variable name myvar1 percent, hit enter, and you can see the value here. So this is how we create an environment variable. Now here we have created this variable temporarily for only for this session. If I exit from this command line and open a new window and again try to search for this variable, it will not be there. Similarly on Mac, I am pressing command space to bring up the spotlight search, and I will open terminal. On Mac we use terminal for commands, and here if I say, here we use export, and I give a variable name myvar equals hello and hit enter. And now if I say echo, and here we use dollar to access the variable, and say myvar1, you can see it prints hello. So these are like key value pair, and in very basic terms you can think of environment variables as labeled boxes. So you can think of some boxes that you have on your desk which have some labels like username, home, school. You can also give these labels yourself. These are the variable names, and in each of these boxes you can put information as per the variable, the label you have given. For example, in the home box you can put all the information about your home, location, address, etc. In the school box you can give the information about your school, your name of the school, location, address, etc. And then whenever you or anyone wants to access any information for that particular label, they can go to that particular box and can get all the information. In the same way, on our computer systems, on our machines and our system, we create some labels and give some values. We create some variables and give some values, and whenever a program or application has to access these values, they can search in that particular box labeled by that particular variable name and can get the value and run the application or the program. Okay, so this will be very much clear when we understand how environment variables work. Yeah, let us go here. Okay, I will keep a link for this document as well in the description or the notes section so that you can refer it anytime you want. So here the environment variables work in three ways. The first thing is setting the label. Now this you can do yourself like I did just now, or it will already be there set by the system. There are some default variables on your system, default environment variables which are already set, but you can also create and set these variables. So first you create the variables, set the value, and then the program use these labels or these variables. So whenever a program needs a specific information, it will go to that particular box or that particular variable and check for the information, and then finally it will access the information and then run the program or the application as needed. So if you have seen a lot of times, when you run any of your Java application, you just say Java or java.exe and give the location, or you just run the application or a program or a command. So at the back end, the program or the command or the application checks for the Java home environment variables or the path environment variable where you have given the executable address of your Java file, and then it finds it and runs the program. If it does not find it, it will throw an error. Okay, I have also explained some common scenarios at the end, which I will show you in a moment. So let us see some practical example. Now, two very common environment variables we use are path and Java home. Now think of a box that holds path for all the executable files and programs on your system. So whenever your system has to run a program, it will check for the file, the location of its executable file in the path environment variable, and if it finds it, it will run it, otherwise it will throw an error. So whenever you type Chrome in the terminal or in the command line, it checks for the path environment variable. It will not search your entire hard drive. Okay, it will only check the path environment variable, and if you have the location of the Chrome executable file in the path environment variable, it will run it, otherwise it will throw an error. So if you say echo dollar path, this is on Mac, you can see it shows all the values which are there in the path environment variable, and basically these are the location of all the executable files, program files that will be used by different programs and application on the system. If I go to Windows and say echo percent path, so on Windows it is not case sensitive, you can use any cases, but on Mac or Linux it is case sensitive. Or I can also say set path. You can see this is the all the value of the path environment variable. So if you see, it will show you the details. It has Python path, Windows System 32. It will also have Java path. You can see all this is here. Okay. Similarly, Java home is there. This box contains the directory of your Java, and whenever any program requires Java, it will check this particular environment variable. So again, if I say, let me say CLS to clear the screen, and if I say set Java underscore home, it will show the location. It will show the environment variable Java home and its value, which is the location of my Java JDK folder. Okay. We also have user, home, etc. So if I say here set user, set home, it will give all the details about these environment variables. Okay, so you can try different environment variables. Now here we have a list of common commands and variables that we use. Now if you want to list all the environment variables on your system, you can run these commands on Mac and set command on Windows. So if you are on Windows, you just say set and hit enter, and it will give you the it will give you all the environment variables on your system. Now set command is used for different purposes. You can say set and hit enter, it will give the list of all environment variables. You can say set myvar equals some value, and if it is if it has spaces, you give it within quotes. I will say hello world. So this will set the value for this variable for this particular session, and then if I say set and only give the variable name, it will give me the value of that variable. Okay, and then if I say set variable name, I will say myWhere1 and say equals and leave it empty. Okay, I say equals and leave it empty and then hit enter. That will actually delete or unset that variable. So if I now again say set myWhere1 and hit enter, you can see it is not defined. Okay, so on Windows, set command can be used for these multiple purposes, but on Mac and Linux, set is only used to list environment variables. So I can say set and it will list all the environment variables, or I can say env or print env. So if I say env or print env, it will also list all the environment variables on the system. Okay, if you have to print a specific environment variable, on Mac we say echo dollar and the name of the variable. We have already seen this. And on Windows we can use set, or we can use echo, and the variable name will be enclosed within the percentage signs. So percent path percent, or percent variable name percent. Okay, so this is the way to refer any variable. On Mac or Linux we use dollar and the variable name. On Windows we use the variable name within two percentage signs, and this can be used anywhere as well. So let's say if I show you on Windows, I am pressing the Windows key or command key and I am typing environment variables, and I get this option, edit the system environment variables. So it takes me here, system properties. You can also go to here from control panel, or if you go to my computer or this PC, if you do a right click on my computer or this PC and go to properties, so this will open this settings. From here also, if you start typing environment, it will give you this option, edit environment variables, and it will take you here, and you can see here all this. If I go to a particular environment variable, let us say path, and say edit, now you can see here also wherever I have to refer an existing value of environment variable, I am using percent java home, percent android home, percent. So this will refer the value directly here. So it can be used anywhere wherever you want to access your environment variables. Now to set or unset temporary variables, we have already seen this. In Mac we use export command and give the variable name and its value, and in Windows we use the set command. Now here, if you have to append an existing value to the variable, we can just say like this. We can give the variable value and give a colon and then dollar and whatever you want to append to it. So let us say I create a variable myWhere1 equals hello, and if I say echo dollar myWhere1, I get this. Now if I want to create a new variable, export myWhere2, and here I want to refer the existing variable, so I will say dollar myWhere1, and then I can append anything to it. So let us say I just say whatever I will append, how are you, and now if I say echo dollar myWhere2, so you can see it is saying hello, how, and it has not taken ru because there was a space. I should have added this in a within double quotes as I explained earlier, but you can see this is how it will append it. However, when we do it for path environment variable, which is a very common practice, whenever we edit the path environment variable on our systems, we never delete the existing values, we always append to what is already existing. In that case, we use a colon in Mac and then a semicolon in Windows. I will tell you that in a moment later, but you can also append like this. Okay, now to unset, I will say unset and I will say myWhere2. Now if I try to access myWhere2, it is no longer present. This is on Mac, and on Windows we say set myWhere and the value. If we say this, it will print it, or we can say echo %myvar%, and then if you have to append, again we can give the value along with accessing the variable using this %symbol. And then to unset, we just say set the variable name equals and leave it empty and enter. This I have already shown you. Okay, so this is how we set unset the temporary environment variables on Mac and Windows. Whatever we are using on Mac should also work on other Unix shells like on Linux as well. So this is how we set and unset temporary environment variables. Now to set permanent environment variables, here on Mac we use the default shell, and here we put the environment variables in the .bash profile or .zshrc file. Now these are the two files where we add the location of the environment variables to make it permanent. Whatever we have done now, it is not permanent. So if I exit, so let us say if I say echo myvar1, you can see it is giving me the value. But if I exit from this terminal and open a new terminal and again say echo myvar1, you can see it is no longer present. Similarly, on Windows, if I exit from here and then again try to access myvar1, it will no longer be present. So if I exit from here and open a new command line and say set myvar1, you can see it is not defined. So to set the environment variables permanently, on Mac we use .bash profile or .zshrc file, and if you want to check what is your default shell, you can say echo $shell. So let us say I'll say echo $shell, and in my case it is the ZSH shell. That means I will have to put my environment variables in the .zshrc file. So earlier Mac used .bash profile, but starting with Mac OS Monterey, it has switched the default profile from bash to ZSH. Okay, so you can check if you are using earlier Mac and when you run echo shell, if it says bash, then you will be making changes in the .bash profile file. So I can also show you, if you say open .bash profile, you can see this is the file. You can make changes here and save. And if you are using the newer Macs, you can say open .zshr and press tab, it will auto complete. Hit enter, and this is the file where you can make the changes for environment variables. Okay, so you can open the file as per whatever is your default shell, and to see the file you can say cat.zshrc or cat.bash profile. It will give you all the details here. Okay, or you can say open like I did earlier, open.zshrc. It will open in a editor window, text editor file, and you can see it here. And then to change it, add, update, make any changes, you can either use the VI editor. So when you say VI and the file name, it will open the file in a VI editor, and then you can press I and then add, update, change any of the contents. So if I have to give location of Java home environment variable, I will say export Java home, and the location. Similarly for path, I can do like this, whatever already is there, $path and colon append more here, and then press escape, WQ, I, and enter. So let us say, I will show you both the ways. I will say vi.zshrc, hit enter. So it has opened in VI editor. Now I will press I, and then now I can make any changes. So let us say I say here export myvar1 equals hello, and now if I have to write and quit, I will press escape on my keyboard, then I will press a colon, WQ means write and quit, exclamation mark, and hit enter. And now if I say cat.zshrc, you can see it is here, or I can say open.zshrc, and you can see it has come here. Okay, this has come here, and now this variable is set permanently. Even if I close this session, let us say I close this session and I open a new terminal window, and now if I say echo dollar my var1, you can see it is now set permanently. Okay, you can also make it, you can say open.zshrc and manually type here. So if I say export my var2 equals how are you, okay, so this is what I have done. Export my var2 equals hello how are you, and if I save it and close, and I open a new terminal and I say, you can see it is printing the value. So this is how you do on Mac, and then on Windows we can do it graphically. You can open the environment variables from control panel or the start menu. So here I will just, let me exit from here. I have already shown you, you can just press your Windows key or command button and start typing environment. You can get this option, edit the system environment variables, go here, click here, and here we have the user variables for that particular user who is logged into this system, and these are for the system. So if you make any changes or add any environment variable here, it will only be accessible for that particular user who is here, and if you make it add or make changes here, it will be for the entire system. Okay, so if I create a new environment variable here, I can say my var and say hello how are you, or let us say hello world. Okay, and now generally the value, this is I'm just showing for a demo, but generally the value will be the location of some file, and in that case, to avoid making any mistakes, to avoid any typos, you can actually browse the directory or browse the file from here and then select it so that it will get the location right, and then you can press OK. So you can see my var has come here. I will say OK and OK, and if I say command line, if I go to the command line and say echo percent my var percent, you can see it is printing this hello world. Okay, one tip for Windows user is, in case you want to see a shell something like this, something like a Mac or Linux terminal with color coding etc., you can download Git. So you can just go to Google and say git download and go here and download Git and then run install Git on your system, and once you do this you will get Git bash. So you can see you will get Git bash, and this will run all the commands as per the Linux or Unix shell, and also it will have some color coding. So here you can see if I say echo percent myvar percent, you can see here it is just echoing this, but if I say echo dollar myvar, it is printing hello world. So if you want to use a Linux like or a Mac like terminal on Windows, you can get git bash, and then you will also get this color coding access well here. So Windows, we have seen this is how we do it. Okay, I have put all the notes here. Now here is a list of some common environment variables. So path, home, user, username, temp. So these are some common environment variables. This is the purpose. So here I have given all this purpose, the path to use on Windows to check these environment variables, and the path to use on Mac or Linux. So you can try this as well. And here we also know that to set the path or to print the path on Windows, we can also use the set command. So we have already seen this, and some FAQs. So variable names are case sensitive on Mac and Linux, but not on Windows. We have already seen this. On Windows you can say path, lowercase, uppercase, everything will work, but on Mac or Linux it is case sensitive. And then we have already discussed, if you want to set a value which has spaces, always put them within double quotes. Okay. On Mac and Linux, we access the variables, the value of the variables using dollar and the variable name like $path. On Windows, we use it using the percentage symbol. Okay. Then a very important thing, the path environment variable. So although I have discussed it earlier, whenever you have to make any changes or want to add anything in the path environment variable from the terminal or the command line, always append to the existing value, do not override it. And for that we use semicolon, semicolon on Windows and colon on Mac operating system. Okay, so let me show you. If I go to Windows and say echo path, or if I say set path, you can see here we have the value of the path environment variable, and you can see at the end there is already a semicolon. So if you see there is already a semicolon at the end, then what you can do is, if I have to add something more here, I can say set path equals to, I will say percent path percent, that means it will take the existing value and then I will add new value. Let us say this is my new value 1. Now here, because I see already a semicolon at the end, I am not giving a semicolon here. I will hit enter, and now if I say set path, you can see new value 1 has come here. But now if I have to again add another value, you can see there is no semicolon. So now let me say, now if I have to again add something, I will now say set path equals percent path percent, then give a semicolon, and then I will say new value 2. So now if I again check, you can see it has added new value 2 along with a semicolon. Now of course if you do it graphically from GUI, you will not need it. So if I go to the environment variable again on Windows, and if I go to the path, I am pressing PATH, it goes to the path environment variable, I say edit. Now you can see here I do not have to use it, I just say new, and whatever I add will get added here. Okay, but in older Windows operating system, this opens as a single text box. In that case, again you have to make sure that you give a semicolon and then add the new value, and do not change or delete any of the existing values. Okay, so I have added this. If I again try to check path, I will have to exit from here and say set path. You will have the value here. So whatever I had set as temporary variables in the earlier session are now gone, but you will see whatever is permanently set will be here. So here you can see new value 3 is here. Okay, similarly on a Mac operating system, you will say here export path equal $path, that means whatever value is already there, and then a colon and then the new value. And of course this $path, if you want, you can put it at the end. You can say new value and then colon $path. Similarly on Windows you can put it at the end. That is your wish, but you should always append like this. Okay, so again some information, this is temp is also an environment variable, and if you want to check the information about temp, you can say echo %temp. It has the, it is a temporary storage on your operating system. So if I run this on Windows, I will say echo %temp %, it gives this. Or if I just go to the start menu and say %temp %, it will open the folder. Or if I here say %temp %, again it will take me to the directory which has the temporary storage. So this is just for information, and this is how we work with environment variables. Now if you have any questions, any doubts, you can let me know in the comment section, and I will also keep a link for this document. You can refer it. It will be your guide, and let me know if you have any questions. I will see you soon. Thank you for watching, and never stop learning.